Hey, everybody. Welcome to our daily dispatch here at the Mayday Network. I'm Julie Roginski here with my friend and co-host, Michelle Kinney. Michelle, we are here today because I think it took me the weekend to process what is happening. But in the wake of this tragic Charlie Kirk murder, the president of the United States is launching an attack on our freedom of speech. And there's no other way to put it. I'm not sugarcoating it. I spent the weekend kind of contemplating whether I was overthinking it, and I'm not. And
No.
I think just to give people a few examples of what he said, and I want to pull this up because it is so concerning. Of course, I don't have it here, so let me put on my glasses. This is what he said. I just want to read this. He went on Truth Social the night of the Kirk murder. And again, Michelle, he didn't go and do an address to the nation from the Oval Office to call for union.
Because it's not about that.
It's not about that. It's actually about monetizing it.
Yeah, it's about his own business ventures. He owns Truth Social. He makes money off of the engagement. So if he sends people there, he'll make money. And again, this is why presidents are supposed to dissolve, or give away or give up. Jimmy Carter, we talk about, gave up his peanut farm, but here we are with Donald Trump doing everything that he's not supposed to be doing. But continue.
Yeah. So let me just read. It's just a little long, but I'm going to read what part of what he said. And this is what he said. For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now. My administration will find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity and to other political violence, including the organizations that fund it and support it, as well as those who go after our judges, law enforcement officials, and everyone else who brings order to our country. So, and then laughably, I just want to say he added, tonight I ask all Americans to commit themselves to the American values for which Charlie Kirk lived and died, the values of free speech, citizenship, the rule of law, and the patriotic devotion and love of God. So, free speech, really? Because doesn't compute, right?
No.
Doesn't compute because the attack on free speech is exactly what he did. All of us. So anybody who compares, not Charlie Kirk, but people like Charlie Kirk to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals, this kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now. The person who has, first of all, called people like Charlie Kirk a Nazi, he should start with the calls coming from inside the House. That would be Mike Pence. Excuse me, not Mike Pence. Oof, I wish it were Mike Pence. J.D. Vance, who of course famously called Donald Trump, compared him to Hitler.
Yes, America's Hitler.
America's Hitler. It is coming more and more from Trump himself, who compared Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, sometimes in the same sentence, to fascists, communists, Marxists, socialists. I mean, every ist that MAGA hates. One sentence. I mean, I'm not sure how he could be both a communist and a fascist, but okay, we're not asking him.
They'll try. Because they're. I mean, again, like they're words that have very specific meanings, but they're just kind of counting on their base, not really knowing the difference.
Yeah.
And
so I don't know what to say here. Other than to say that he is moving on us. And by, pretty soon it's going to be anybody who says anything that he doesn't like, that he's going to do he's going to frame this under the guise of political terrorism, that you're promoting political terrorism.
Yep. And the thing about this is just, again, the irony and the gaslighting that happens within just his own statements. First of all, that statement, there's no doubt in my mind, was written by Stephen Miller, that is exactly how Stephen Miller talks, who goes on TV and says all kinds of horrible things about anyone who doesn't agree with him. And Stephen Miller really is the person who's running the country right now.
Yeah.
The deputy chief of staff of the White House is the person running the United States of America. the policies and is behind all of the rhetoric that's coming out of Donald Trump's mouth for the most part. And the thing about the free speech is, and the thing about authoritarians and fascists is like, they can handle a lot of things, they can take a lot of things, but the one thing they really can't handle is people laughing at them, people making fun of them. And so that's one of the things that in the United States of America, the people who take the stage and the microphones, like it is the artists are very, I hold them responsible. Like it is our responsibility, the people with the microphones, to continue doing that, to mock them, to make fun of them, because they hate it. And it is still our freedom and it's still our right to do that. But otherwise, I mean, I think this has been kind of Donald Trump's dream to clamp down on free speech. I think for him, his own particular motive is his ego. He doesn't like people to tell him he's wrong. He doesn't like people to tell him he's unpopular, or that, anything in opposition of Donald Trump, he doesn't like it. And the people around him, knowing that his little ego is so fragile, uses that in order to foment, more terrible things. I mean, the fact is, whether you're an American citizen or not, once you step on American soil, you have all the same rights as everyone else. Freedom of speech, freedom of protest, all of these things. Now, it was reported, I think it was this past week, that Marco Rubio was given some sort of thought police power, where he can revoke people's passports based on how they react to Charlie Kirk and what happened. I mean, these are really, really dangerous places that we are in. I don't have a lot of faith in our courts, specifically the Supreme Court. But I think for as long as we have this right, we have to continue to exercise that right.
So, I just want to say what Charlie Kirk himself said. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I have this problem. We've talked about this before. I don't like going to funerals and hearing these hagiographies of people who are dead. Mm-hmm. And I hope that at my funeral, that's not going to happen. I hope people talk about me as I was, right?
Yep.
You can mourn the fact that Charlie Kirk was murdered without whitewashing, no pun intended, what Charlie Kirk said in life. Because what Charlie Kirk said in life, he said repeatedly, and he was proud of it. And it's not an insult to raise it. So let me just talk about what Charlie Kirk said. He described what he calls the Great Replacement Strategy, which is well underway every single day on our southern border. He said this strategy aims to replace white rural America with something different. He posted, the Great Replacement is not a theory, it's a reality. He's also said that Democratic immigration policies are aimed at diminishing and decreasing white demographics in America. He said the American Democrat Party hates this country. They want to see it collapse. They love it when America becomes less white. And now let me tell you what that led to. What that led to is the following. And this is why apparently this kind of freedom of speech exists for MAGA-aligned people like Charlie Kirk, but not for the rest of us, right? Mm-hmm. It led to, it was the death of Jews at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, mm-hmm. which the killer there who massacred Jews who were worshiping in Pittsburgh that day, said that he did this because the Jews were behind the Great Replacement theory. Mm-hmm. It led to the Walmart shooting in El Paso that murdered people, mostly Latinos, and the Top supermarket shooting, which killed 10 African Americans.
Yep, in Buffalo, right?
In Buffalo.
Yep.
So I say all of this to say that, do I blame Charlie Kirk for those deaths? No more than you can blame people criticizing Charlie Kirk for his death.
Right.
Because the Republicans so much love to say guns don't kill people, people kill people. Well,
yeah.
I don't know anybody criticizing Charlie Kirk who's responsible for his death other than the person who pulled the trigger, unless we come to find out that he was somehow told by somebody or inspired by somebody to go do this in the same way that the biggest political violence incident of our lives was completely and utterly inspired by Donald Trump, who told his supporters to go to the Capitol and fight like hell. And they did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, there are limitations to the right? I mean, Congress shall make no law, right? But it's the shouting fire in a crowded auditorium, right? I mean, inciting violence is the line. Now, trial by combat, Rudy Giuliani's, all of them, on January 6th, stood in front of a crowd of thousands of people and basically was like, hey, it's this way. Not to mention the weeks that led up to that. And that's why, for the most part, all of them were held accountable for that, until they weren't. I mean, and that's the failure of the Biden DOJ for not, but that's a whole nother, conversation. But, it's like, or not Donald Trump, Elon Musk too, right? He talks a lot about Twitter and how, free speech on Twitter again, and we need, open discourse and everything. But again, he's fixing Grok, which is the AI kind of chat GPT thing within Twitter. He's fixing that to be so that no one says anything bad about him or any of the people that he's aligned with. It's anything but free speech, because anybody who's in the opposition, people like us, we get suppressed. Our voices get suppressed. And that's a private company. He can do whatever he wants. But for the people who preach about the free speech and the woke and this, and they're the ones who need the safe space more than anybody.
It's upsetting. And I will also add that I don't believe for one moment anything that is coming out of this FBI's mouth.
Oh God, no.
And so, speaking of speech, I just don't. This whole very convenient, he had a transgender roommate who he was in a relationship with. It wasn't really a roommate. He had a relationship with a man who was in the process of transitioning. I mean, don't forget, they said this was the fault of transgender people before they even found out who did this.
Listen, they have every reason to lie. These are not career law enforcement investigators. Like we're talking about Kash Patel here and Dan Bing Bong. And these are not serious people. And Kash Patel knows that he's on the chopping block, and MAGA is unhappy with him, and Donald Trump is unhappy with the job that he's been doing. Not because he's like, not doing, the institutional job the right way. He hasn't been handling situations, and in particular this investigation, in a way that hurts Democrats and helps him. He's not doing it well enough. And for that reason, Kash Patel's job is in jeopardy. So if you're Kash Patel and you are have shady morals, if any morals at all, what do? Okay, I'm going to look for anything that's going to save me. It's going to make my boss happy. It's going to keep my following happy, because again, there was a whistleblower report by other FBI officials. They had been fired. They filed a whistleblower lawsuit saying that Kash Patel and Dan Bing Bong were so upset and consumed and obsessed with their own social media following that it seemed to be the only thing that they cared about, and the only thing, and it took precedent over actual things that the FBI were supposed to be doing. So, I mean, everything points to, I shouldn't believe these people. They're full of shit because they don't care about us. They only care about themselves.
And yet, their speech apparently is completely protected, given the bullshit that they're potentially spewing. You had Brian Kilmeade go on Fox News last week and talk about how, and let me actually pull up this quote because it needs to be actually said, read to be believed. I mean, effectively, he is proposing the final solution to the homeless problem.
Yeah. And when you said that the other day, the final solution, I think you wrote it on Substack. I was like, oh, wow, that's exactly it. That's exactly it.
This is what he said. Homeless people need to be involuntary lethal injection or something. Just kill them. Now, I know Brian Kilmeade. I haven't spoken to him in nearly a decade, but you know, we used to work together. I hadn't been on a show even in years before I left Fox because that show was just toxic and ridiculous. But you know, he's not. He's. I don't. I. This is so performative to me. Like, do I think Brian Kilmeade legitimately wants to go around just murdering people? I don't. Which makes it almost worse because it's performative. It's being done in the service of performance to appease dear leader, in this case, I guess Suzanne Scott, the head of Fox News, or maybe Rupert Murdoch or Lachlan Murdoch or whoever he wants to, or maybe Donald Trump because he wants another interview with him. But, you know, what you're talking about is Brian Kilmeade, who lives out of Long Island. And if anybody here knows the geography of New York City, right? Brian Kilmeade gets a car to pick him up every morning that he gets in the back of. And Brian Kilmeade glides over the East River from Long Island onto 6th Avenue, where there are no homeless people sleeping outside of Fox News, I can assure you.
Yeah, no, that because there are security, as you know, you work there. Yeah, the security over there is very, very, very tight.
He gets dropped off. He walks from his car 10, no, maybe not 10 feet, maybe 100 feet into the front door of 1211 6th Avenue. And I'm not giving anything away. It's where Fox News is located.
Yeah,
everybody knows.
Yeah, everybody knows.
He walks into a studio and he does not leave until he gets back in his car. The only time he might walk outside is to walk around the corner to Del Frisco's, which is a steakhouse, to get a drink after work for some like book party or something. And then he gets back in his car.
There. Yeah.
Yeah. And he goes back there. And he goes back in his car and he drives back. I say that to say that the only time he ever sees homeless people is from the back of his SUV or his town car as he is driving and gliding past them.
Yep.
His multi-million-dollar mansion on Long Island from his multi-million-dollar job at Fox News.
Yeah. And from somebody who drives to Long Island pretty often, like I know that route from Midtown. Like, I mean, you might see some stuff, right? But it's like
he doesn't come in contact with it. He doesn't come in contact with it, is my point.
No.
And suddenly he wants to involuntarily euthanize them and kill them. They're not even inconveniencing him.
No.
Right?
No.
It's because he's obviously talking about this homeless guy murdering this Ukrainian woman who they're decided somehow that's the fault of Democrats. I'm not sure why.
Right. Which, by the way, we were all equally horrified about. When I saw that, first of all, I didn't know what I was seeing. And then it scared the shit out of me.
Oh, like, we're all horrified. By the way, the odds of one of us getting murdered by a homeless person or anybody is much higher than Brian Kilmeade because he's got security and we don't. But the difference
and we're women.
And we're women. But the difference here is you don't involuntarily euthanize somebody like that.
I have the clip. I just put it in. Let me play it.
Billions of dollars to mental health and the homeless population. A lot of them don't want to take the programs. A lot of them don't want to get the help that is necessary. You can't give them a choice. Either you take the resources that we're going to give you or you decide that you're going to be locked up in jail. That's the way it has to be now.
Or involuntary lethal injection or something. Just kill them.
Yeah, Brian, why did it have to get to this point?
Right.
Just kill him.
And then Ainsley Earhardt, good Christian that she is.
I would say this, we're not voting for the right people. In North Carolina, wake up.
Really?
Yeah.
Because there's no homeless problem anywhere.
You're trying to tell me there's no homeless people in Durham or Raleigh or Charlotte?
I mean, I think those are all Democratic towns, but the point is there are Republican towns. The bottom line is they're so full of shit. And the problem is that you're telling me, and then Ainsley Earhardt, who, talks about how she reads the Bible on her way to school work every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Brian, why does it have to get this bad? Well, you know what? There's a way to talk about this without talking about kill them all. Kill them all.
Kill them.
Like, that's why erase homeless. Yeah. It's the final solution to the homeless problem. We can't fix it any other way. So let's just kill them all. Women who are literally sleeping on the streets because they're worried about their lives because it's safer on the streets than with their abusive husbands, sleeping with their children, kill them all. The women, the children, all of them. The people who are addicts, because they had the misfortune of being addicted to drugs at a young age.
An
Kill 'em
opioid
all.
drug, maybe, that is also a crisis in this country because of, a myriad of different reasons.
Yeah.
But it's
The runaway girl who's being raped by a
teenagers.
family
Yeah.
member.
Yeah.
She's running away. She's living in the streets because it's safer in the streets than to be raped by her dad or her uncle or grandpa or whoever she's being raped by.
Mhm.
Kill them all. Kill them
Yep.
all.
Yep.
Meanwhile, over at MSNBC,
Mm.
Matthew Dowd has the temerity to point out that Charlie Kirk said some divisive things. Off with his head.
Mhm. Mhm.
Off with his head. Karen Attiah, I don't know if you saw this, the last Black woman at the Washington Post opinion section, did nothing more than tweet out that Charlie Kirk once claimed Black women lack brain processing power.
He
That's
did
what
say
Charlie
that.
Kirk said. She got fired today.
What?
Yep. Or she announced today that she got fired. She got fired last week. Yep. Fired.
And he did, oh my God. This is where and she's a Black woman saying this, that he said this about me, and therefore I do not have, I feel bad this happened to him because I don't want this to happen to any human being, whether they're homeless or Charlie Kirk or this or that, the other. But let's not pretend that he was a good person, especially if you were one of the marginalized groups that he spewed hatred toward. Because here's the other thing. I just want to play this from this creator. She talks about what this is. What there is a definition for what this is, and I heard this the other day. I thought it was really, really interesting about how these words turn into violence.
Yep.
Let me play it.
Stochastic terrorist.
What?
People are telling you Charlie Kirk never hurt anyone. The word you're looking for is stochastic terrorism. Stochastic terrorism is when public figures use mass communication to incite violence against specific groups while maintaining plausible deniability. You demonize and dehumanize a group of people. You paint them as an existential threat. You use inflammatory, violent language. Then when someone acts on that rhetoric with actual violence, you get to step back and say, I never told anyone to do that. It's terrorism by statistical probability. You're not directing specific people to commit specific acts. You're just broadcasting hatred to millions, knowing statistically someone's going to act on it. And it works. Misogyny is on the rise, along with calls to remove women's rights. This correlates with rises in domestic violence and harassment. Studies show anti-LGBTQ rhetoric directly correlates to increased violence against queer people. When you have a platform with millions of followers and you consistently tell them that certain groups of people are an abomination or threats to children in society, some percentage of those followers will take action. The insidious part is when violence happened, Kirk got to step back and say, I didn't hurt anyone. But that's not how stochastic terrorism works. You don't need to give explicit instructions when you've spent years painting a target on people's backs. He built his career on hatred disguised as Christianity, violence disguised as patriotism, and eliminationist rhetoric disguised as political discourse. So don't let anyone gaslight you into thinking his words were harmless. Words have impact, platforms have responsibilities, and hatred disguised as righteousness is still hatred.
I mean, yes. I heard that and I was like, I didn't know that there was such a term, and now I do, and I will be using it.
Stochastic terrorism, sure. Yeah. I mean, they're just... That's what they do. And with them, the projection's always the admission, right? It's always the admission.
Yeah, they always tell it on themselves.
And then the part that absolutely drove me over the edge, the last refuge of, sanity for America, the one thing that brings everybody together, football, right? Democrat, Republican, Independent, everybody watches football. Well, what does the NFL do?
Yep.
The NFL honors Charlie Kirk. And then the NFL teams individually all honor Charlie Kirk. And then the New York Post, which has been feeding the frenzy here because all they care about is
New York Post is the worst.
It's the worst, but they don't care about actually bringing this country together, what's good for the country. They will literally
everything. I mean, just for anybody who doesn't live.
It's the worst, but they don't care about actually bringing this.
Whoa, what happened?
Yeah.
Oh, did you hit the YouTube thing? Sometimes that
by mistake. Whoops.
That's okay. That's okay. No, I for anybody who doesn't live in New York, the New York Post obviously is a Murdoch-owned newspaper, if you can even call it a newspaper. When I worked at a bar, And I was day bartender on like Mondays sometimes. And so I'd come in and we'd have the newspapers from the day sitting there for, the people who come in and want to read. And New York Post was always one of them. And it was always the newspaper that we made fun of. And I remember one of my coworkers said, she was like, my aunt tells me that if you were to squeeze the New York Post, blood would come out of it, because like that's the kind of newspaper it is. They want to hurt people. They want to make people feel angry and rageful and hateful. And that is the kind of headlines and everything that they put in that newspaper and on the front cover.
Well, I will tell you this. The New York Post publishes something on September 14th, which is yesterday, right?
Mm-hmm.
5 NFL, this is the headline, 5 NFL teams don't pay tribute to Charlie Kirk as others hold moments of silence. And this is the lead. A majority of home teams around the NFL held moments of silence for Charlie Kirk on Sunday, but the Bengals, Lions, Colts, Vikings, and Ravens did not.
Yeah, and all those teams won, by the way.
Okay, let me tell you this about what those 5 teams did that the rest of them, and shame on you, New York Giants, did not. A lot of those people who play for those teams are Black. They're Black men.
Yep.
Charlie Kirk said the most outrageous, awful, terrible things about Black people, including what I just read about Black women not having the brain processing power, including the fact that Ketanji Jackson Brown and Michelle Obama and I don't know, other Black women he listed, who would not be there if not for affirmative action. And then he, of course, also said that if he were on a plane and he saw a Black pilot, he wouldn't fly, or he'd be worried because that Black pilot was only there because of affirmative action. So if you're Black, you obviously don't have the mental capacity to actually have a real job.
Mm-hmm.
And I suspect he probably thought Black NFL players were only there because they have, because.
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, this is the same sports organization that had a real big problem with Black players kneeling during the national anthem.
Yep.
Colin Kaepernick, first of all, just as a refresher, when he first did that, this is another form of freedom of speech, freedom of expression. He quietly got down on one knee by the bench. He didn't make a big deal out of it. He just took a moment for himself and got down on the knee. It wasn't until people started to realize that, and then it became an issue. And because of that, Colin Kaepernick lost his job. And there was a performative sort of reaction to it, later on in the season. And then, Jerry Jones gets down on his knee with the team and the whole thing. And the whole thing is horseshit. But I'll say about the NFL, there's a couple reasons I don't really watch football anymore. The first one being the concussion crisis. That they refuse to address, which is upsetting. And I hate to be that person who makes everything political and I ruin everything, but politics ruins everything. Yeah. And I hate this, but that's why. And that's because the NFL is an insanely racist organization. It is extremely racist how they treat Black people, their Black players. It just is. And a lot of the good old boy sort of network within the organization and how it operates. And there's actually not really much that's surprising to me about that, about the NFL doing this. Again, these are the same people who had a real big problem with Colin Kaepernick getting down on one knee. And I will say about Travis Kelce, okay? And I bring him up because he's such a famous, quarterback, and he's marrying Taylor Swift. And this is someone that we talk about. He was one of the first white players to get down on his knee with him. And to that, I hope that there are more people willing, especially people in places of privilege, like a Travis Kelce, need to use their freedom of speech, their freedom of expression to back up those who may be in more vulnerable positions. And I think that that's what this moment is really requiring.
Well, let me say this. You have this crazy bandwagon thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, you just, it's, you have I'm just trying to pull up this quote. Hold on.
Yeah.
But you have like this insane bandwagon that people jump on.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, apparently it's okay to do this. Now, meanwhile,
Oh, my dad said not a quarterback. What does he play? What is Jason
Travis Kelce?
Yeah.
He's a running back, I think.
Oh, well, there you go. Sorry.
He's not a running back.
My bad.
He's something else. I don't know what he is. But look, here's what Scott Jennings said about Jimmy Carter after Jimmy Carter died, right? He called him a terrible president. He said Carter was, quote, an even a worse ex-president. By the way, this is Jimmy Carter, who
tight end, by the way. Sorry.
Tight end, sorry. Jimmy Carter, who built houses for homeless people. Speaking of homeless.
Yeah.
For the duration of his post-presidency.
Mm-hmm.
He accused Carter of having anti-Israel views. Okay, maybe. And more than dabbling in anti-Semitism over the years. Okay. He criticized Carter's post-presidency for, quote, saddling up to dictators around the world. He said Carter had a big ego. He claims Carter did not seem suited for the office in the first place. And he said that in some of Carter's actions, like his views in international affairs, were, in his words, if it's not treasonous, it's borderline treasonous. That is what he said about Jimmy Carter.
Well, listen, Charlie.
That is okay, apparently, right? Like, by the way, I fully defend Scott Jennings' right to say this about Jimmy Carter.
Mm-hmm.
God bless. You want to go ahead and criticize Jimmy Carter? But why is it acceptable to say this about Jimmy Carter and nobody bats an eyelash? And at the same time, if you use Charlie Kirk's own words publicly,
they freak out.
You did, and point them out, you get fired.
Yep.
Why?
Yep.
Why?
And and to that point too, Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk was beating this drum, and some other people on his network, which I think Real Voice of America or something is that what he owned, about public executions. This was a big thing that they started talking about over there, that we needed to bring them back. And that is one thing that Charlie Kirk talked about openly, is that he thought Joe Biden should be executed, and executed publicly. This is something he said. It is provable. You can Google it. It exists. And these are the sorts of things that he talked about and others talked about. There's other people just like Charlie Kirk. Obviously he was, at the forefront of his own little movement, but I'd say little, pretty big. But, this is an ongoing problem. And Michael Wolff, who's the Trump biographer, who does the funny little videos, which I'm obsessed with, where he's like sitting in front of his expensive, fire in his living room. But he said the other day, and this really resonated with me. He said that, we have had politicians, political pundits, political commentators. We have entered a new phase of what we should be calling political performers. And that is what these people are. They're performers. This is performance art. This is political performance art. And when you start looking at them through that lens of entertainment, and they are performers.
It's very lucrative.
Right. Honestly, I'm going to try as much as I possibly can to say that, like, speak it into existence. And I want people to say this more in daily life and on TV and other places, because it's true. And their job is to incite fear and rage and anger and feelings and emotion, right? Just like any other kind of entertainment would, right? But this is direct. It's more of a direct reaction that they want, because it gets them clicks. It makes them money. They make money on engagement. So even when Charlie Kirk was tweeting, he would say something insane and we'd all go in his comments or whatever and respond. He makes money off of that. He makes money off of that. Like our anger, whether it be our anger or the people who follow him, their agreement, and then their anger to what we're saying in that comment under his initial post, he gets money. People get money every time that happens. And that is a business model. And this is the way that these people are making money, and they're becoming very famous. And if you want to talk about performance, I mean, people get mad at me. I really don't care. I mean, Charlie Kirk's wife is sending out fundraising emails, fundraising texts, and then posts a video of herself laying all over her husband's dead body. Posts it. I was so horrified. And I saw it for like 2 seconds. I looked away and I was like, I am not looking at that. I am not looking at that. First of all, it's so morbid. I can't look at it. I'm the kind of person, I grew up in a half Catholic family. Everyone's got the open caskets. I ain't doing it. But otherwise I'm like, it's just so inappropriate. And people then reshare it and they're like, and it's like rage upon rage upon rage and reactions and this. And it's just like, it's performance art. It's performance art. And like, there's no end in sight.
Yes. And I think the problem here is that, first of all, let me just say this. What Erica Kirk had to watch is awful.
Of course.
Yeah. I don't think any of us is saying anything different.
No.
But I think this mission that they're on, they consider to be a mission from God.
Mm-hmm. It's a holy war.
And it's a holy war. And in a holy war, one side wins and the other side doesn't just lose, it gets eradicated. Mm-hmm. We're the other side.
Yep.
We are the other side. And I think what we have to consider is that, my friends, we are on our own.
Oh, yeah.
Because there is nobody to help us. The people who we elected into office are effectively sending us their equivalent of thoughts and prayers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what not Charlie Kirk. I don't know what Chuck Schumer's doing.
No, I have no idea.
He's our Senator, Michelle. I wish he'd be doing something else. I don't know what.
Well, the thing is that, and Hakeem Jeffries, same thing, congressman from Brooklyn.
Yep.
These are the kinds of people within the establishment of our party that think that they can still wield power and take power back via normal and legal pathways through elections. But we are on the other side of that now.
They're not made for this moment.
No, they're not even meeting the moment. They're barely saying hello to it.
That's a great way to put it, because it's true. They're not meeting the moment. They are not even waving to the moment, as you said. And they are sitting in Washington still thinking that, just wait till the next election. Just wait till the next election when we take power. There is not going to be a fair election next time.
Mm-mm.
It's not going to happen. I don't know what else to say about that. It's just not going to happen.
Yep. And it's hard to be hopeful and I know that it's part of my job. And do I think all hope is gone? No, I do not. But I'm having a hard time. I'm having a real hard time. This weekend was rough. And I know I'm not the only one. And I just want to say this too, the Emmys were last night. And I want to just play a part of Stephen Colbert's speech because he won. It's more about free speech. This is a man who has spoken out and spoken his mind. He has made it central to his career in comedy. And if you watch me on other shows, you know how much I love Stephen Colbert, and I have met him so many times over the years, and he's a big reason why, anyways, whatever.
He's a very nice man. If you've ever met Stephen
Colbert. I have.
And I know, but I'm just telling people in the chat who may not know, if you've ever met Stephen Colbert, he is truly the nicest guy in the world. By the way, I think he still teaches Sunday school at his Catholic.
He does. He does.
Like, he's that kind of guy. Like, I think he still teaches Sunday school. He's a good man. So go ahead.
And just to say with the Emmys last night too, listen, I have no problem with Nate Bargatze. Okay. He was the host last night. He's a great comedian, whatever. But he's from Tennessee. He's very Christian. He never says anything that is even remotely via like an opinion. He doesn't express or communicate any sort of political opinion or feeling or anything like that. And I thought that was very telling to this moment, that's the person that they put in this position. While I feel like these people in the networks are trying to gaslight the country into thinking that everything is okay, and everything is not okay. We're sitting on a powder keg in the most divisive period in modern American history. And, it was like, we're just going to have a fun, silly night. And again, like, this is where the artists, this is my world. This is where I come from. The artists are the ones who are supposed to be writing the songs, writing the plays, making the speeches, grabbing the microphones, and speaking truth to power. I mean, you look at somebody like Lenny Bruce, right? Because of Lenny Bruce, comedians are able to, and artists in general are able to speak in the way that they do. And in many ways, Lenny Bruce gave his life for it. And so I would just want to play the end of Stephen Colbert's acceptance speech last night.
10 years ago, in September of 2015, Spike Jones stopped by my office and said, "Hey, what do you want this show to be about?" And I said, Spike, I don't know how you could do it, but I'd kind of like to do a late night show, a late night comedy show that was about love. And I don't know if I ever figured that out, but at a certain point, and you can guess what that point was, I realized that in some ways we were doing a late night comedy show about loss. And that's related to love, because sometimes you only truly know how much you love something when you get a sense that you might be losing it. And 10 years later, in September of 2025, my friends, I have never loved my country more desperately. God bless America. Stay strong, be brave, and if the elevator tries to bring you down, go crazy and punch a higher floor.
And he was like one of two people who said or alluded to anything that's going on. Listen, art is also an escape, right? I mean, you look at the movies and the music that was being produced during World War II. I mean, none of it's really reflective. I mean, it is a little bit.
Well, Casablanca, the greatest movie ever made, people don't realize, was made in the midst of World War II when they did not know which way the war was going to go.
Right, 1939, right?
No, I think it was made in like 1941 or 1942.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was, but it was after, I think it was after we got into the war. So it must have been 1942. But
yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, but Casablanca had a cast. I don't know if people know this. First of all, I think it's Conrad. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Was it Veit, but whatever it was, the man who played the main Nazi in Casablanca. Was a refugee from Germany. He was a German refugee who left because he just couldn't deal with it. You had the people who were singing the Marseillaise in the middle of that movie.
I don't know how you watch that and not cry.
I cry every time. Every time. Best scene ever in any movie, bar none. Like, find me a better scene than that.
Yeah.
But those people were crying in real life because a lot of them were actual refugees.
Yeah.
Who were European actors who fled because they were Jewish or they were wanted in some other capacity and fled and ended up in this movie. So I say that to say that even in the midst of World War II, people were taking positions, but that's because our country was on the right side back then.
Yeah.
And right now,
the good guys.
Right now, our country is not the good guys. And right now, when we have Donald Trump lecturing Venezuela about having rigged elections and about, which he's right about, and about how they're not a democracy and about how, Maduro's regime is awful and that's why we have to blow up boats illegally in the middle of in South America. All I could think is, well, who the hell are we to lecture anybody right now?
Yeah,
we're not lecturing anybody right now.
And what
Colbert said was so brutal, because the show is about loss, and you don't really know how much you love something until it's lost. And I've never loved my country more. Translation: our country is lost to us right now.
Yeah.
And
Stephen Colbert lost his show because of it. He lost his place in the CBS, universe. And listen, that's because of Donald Trump. You think Donald Trump didn't make some sort of deal with CBS that said, yeah, you can do this, the merger will go through, but you got to get rid of Stephen Colbert. And next on his list is Jimmy Kimmel. It will be Seth Meyers. I think Jimmy Fallon eventually. He doesn't make as much of a problem, but, and this is again where, and by the way, people are saying in the chat that JD Vance is hosting Charlie Kirk.
Oh yeah, JD Vance is hosting Charlie Kirk's podcast
right now.
Tribute to no, I think maybe I don't know. In tribute to Charlie Kirk. I mean, it's getting absurd. Charlie Kirk, again, did not deserve to die.
No, of course.
Should be podcasting his show today should be spewing whatever he wants to spew, because we should live in a country that is free speech. But let's be very clear, you do not pay tribute to somebody who had things to say that he had to say about well over 50% of the population. All women, there's 50% off the top. All Black people, that's another, 10, 12% of the country. All Latinos, that's another, I don't know, 20, I don't even know what the statistics are, percent of the country. Jews, everybody. Everybody. They love Israel. Well, some of them, not Nick Fuentes.
Well, yeah, they love about Israel.
But they hate Jews.
Exactly. Even Charlie Kirk has said very anti-Semitic things about Jews, and so that's why when I see the more conservative wing of the of Judaism, especially within like my maybe first or second degree of friendship online, I see them and I'm like, what are seriously, guys? Like, I get it, but like these people don't give a shit about Jews, like they don't at all.
But I mean, my point is like, it's this constant. And then now I'll tell you who became the most powerful guy as a result of this Charlie Kirk situation. Nick Fuentes.
Oh,
guess who's going to fill the vacuum? Ben Shapiro thinks it's going to be him, but watch, it's going to be Nick Fuentes.
No way.
Nick Fuentes is now on a jihad.
Well, right.
And the jihad is that he does not think there's a MAGA civil war brewing that blew out into the open with the Charlie Kirk thing that's been going on for a long time. Laura Loomer, Nick Fuentes, they're not always on the same side, but they were no fans of Charlie Kirk, and they were going after him repeatedly.
All the time. Laura Loomer, I don't know if you saw it, she tweeted, I think it was yesterday, the day before, said that it's time that America got a dictator. And the thing with Nick Fuentes too, and Ben Shapiro, it's funny you say that because Ben Shapiro is a very popular podcast. A lot of people listen to him, okay? But I don't see him as the leader of a movement because he is not particularly, if at all, charismatic or galvanizing to people in a way that Nick Fuentes does.
Yep.
Now, not to me. I find him reprehensible, but Nick Fuentes talks to people in a real way. I mean, I brought this up the other day when I watched his stuff on Rumble where he was saying, have you seen me? I live in a working class neighborhood outside Chicago. I don't go on vacations. All these other guys, these grifters and Tucker and all these people, they're making millions of dollars off of this. I'm not. I just do this podcast because I want to talk to you.
He's making millions of dollars too, but the point is he doesn't flaunt it in people's face like the way Tucker does, or the way Charlie Kirk does, or or the way Ben Shapiro does. And he has a following. I went down this rabbit hole, unfortunately, over the weekend, which, I did it so you don't have to, but let me tell you about it. It is a bunch of incredibly incredibly right-wing.
Yeah.
Incredibly online gamers who are young and therefore very impressionable, which is the same cohort that Ben Shapiro was trying to appeal to and Charlie Kirk was trying to appeal to and Nick Fuentes is trying to appeal to. But they are deeply online, deeply disengaged from reality because they spend all their time online. He is what he calls an involuntary celibate. Well, no, actually, voluntary celibate, excuse me. He thinks, and I quote, it's gay to have sex with women.
I'm sorry. It's like, I know it's serious, but it's like the most ridiculous. I mean, it's just so insane. And I think that Nick Fuentes is covering up something very deep and dark inside of him that he doesn't want to face. And I think that that's where a lot of this comes from.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, it's gay to have sex with women. Even you men who are married to women, you're gay for having sex with your wives. And I mean,
really quick to Cynthia, mainstream media doesn't understand gaming culture. And no, exactly correct.
Exactly.
This is like Congress questioning Mark Zuckerberg about Facebook.
Exactly.
None of them knew what the hell they were talking about. They didn't understand the questions that they were asking, and so therefore could not even give follow-ups because they don't get it. And this is going to be like, trying to explain the internet to George Washington, because the battlefield is, and we talked about this morning on the Seneca Project. We had our morning call this morning, catching up because Tara's been away, and we were saying that it's like, what is the call to action right now? What is the call to action? Like, what are we asking people to do? Because they're like, okay, things are bad. What do I do? And I'm like, sometimes I'm like, I don't know the answer to that, but I will tell you that the battlefield is being fought online. That's where the battlefield is. It is cyber. It's digital. And these people live, breathe, eat, exist everywhere online. And it's different layers and levels of extremism. If you look at this through the lens of any other extremist group anywhere else in the world, you know that there's different factions within that. I'm not going to say it, give examples in this moment, but there's some that are worse than others, but they're still bad, and we're the enemy. We're the common enemy in all of it.
So I'm just going to say that I just posted something that I did on Substack over the weekend, but I will just read to you from it. The mainstream media and our leaders in Washington are not built for this moment. Because Chuck Schumer is 1,000 years old. I don't think Hakeem Jeffries spends much time on gamer chats.
No.
The mainstream media certainly doesn't. And let me just tell you something, right? So the Wall Street Journal, which typically does not carry water for its very right-wing ownership, but this time I'm a little surprised. This is what the Wall Street Journal said about Spencer Cox. It was quoting Spencer Cox, the governor of Utah, who sounds reasonable, but is saying some really questionable shit right now. This is what Spencer Cox said. It's very clear to us and to the investigators that this was a person, speaking of the person, the Tyler Robinson, the alleged murderer, that this was a person who was deeply indoctrinated with leftist ideology. Now, the article continued. One thing is apparent about Robinson. He lived much of his life on the internet. By age 15, he had developed enough of an online presence that he dressed up as, quote, some guy from a meme for Halloween, according to his mother. Writings on the bullet casings found by the police appeared to reference various memes in online culture. So I want to just clarify this for people, and you could read much more about this in my Substack, but I'm just going to, tell you. You might ask what this meme was, right? The Wall Street Journal doesn't bother to tell you what it is because that would blow up Cox's narrative, which is what the paper is actively peddling as well.
Exactly.
Now, I can put the photo up here, but I'm just going to tell you what it is.
Yeah.
It's him posing in a squat wearing an Adidas tracksuit, right? And that's the meme that his mother, that's the Halloween picture that his mother posted in 2018 when this guy was 15 years old. The meme he's emulating, which nobody bothered to research, at least to the Wall Street Journal, but I did. And I'm telling you, I spent the weekend going down this rabbit hole. I wish I hadn't.
Pepe, right?
It's not Pepe. It's somebody called Slav Squat Pepe. So it's a variation of Pepe the Frog,
right?
Which is a white nationalist, anti-Semitic meme, and that Groypers have made their mascot. But the Slav Squat meme began as a caricature of Gopnik street culture and Russian Eastern European social media in the early 2010s. Then it crossed over into Western meme culture around 2012 through 4chan. 4chan, for people who don't know, is the message board used by far-right nationalists and extremists.
It's like Reddit for crazies.
Right. And then users on 4chan's international board started posting pictures of squatting Slavs with Adidas tracksuits and vodka jokes asking, why do Slavs squat? And this helped codify the image as a meme template. From there, it spread across other 4chan boards, where it was later fused with Pepe the Frog and repurposed into English language internet culture. And that remix, which is often dubbed the Slav Squat Pepe or Gopnik Pepe, turned a regional stereotype into a tool for identity signaling in nationalist and extremist spaces. So, do we know whether Kirk's killer meant his Halloween costume to represent a white nationalist political meme or simply a cultural in-joke? We don't. But we also know that none of this resembles leftist ideology. And of course, this is the same paper, the Wall Street Journal, that claimed earlier, without any evidence, that ammunition found at the murder scene was engraved with transgender and anti-fascist ideology. It actually wasn't. It was engraved with gamer lingo that most corporate media totally missed.
Yep.
Why?
Nobody knows.
It's out by older millennials, Gen Xers like me, and baby boomers who see, so you got to do the research. And the writing on the ammunition refers to by the way, Michelle, were you at my house that day when we mentioned this to my 13-year-old who is not a gamer?
Yeah.
And I said, and he goes, oh, Helldivers 2, of course.
Yeah. And I was like,
he
what?
knows about it, right? And we're like, huh? So the writing on the ammunition actually refers to a popular online video game called Helldivers 2, where players pretend to be an elite team of soldiers working together to save Earth from invading space bugs, cyborgs, and robots. But here's the catch, you guys. The Earth they are saving is ruled by fascists, where conquest, genocide and violence routinely take place. You have to make a decision. Do you want to, you save the earth for the fascists who are ruling you, or against the robots? And you're basically fighting on behalf of a fascist earth. And, there's an argument with Helldivers too, whether it's glorifying fascism or whether it's just ironic. Anyway, none of that denotes liberal, leftist, whatever. And what I'm telling you right now is stuff that I did not know, because I am in my 50s and I am not a gamer, and I don't play Helldivers 2, and I don't know about meme culture, and I don't know about Slavic Pepe or whatever the hell his name is, Gopnik Pepe, Slav squats, or any other memes. But at least I was responsible enough to research it before writing about it.
Right.
And Spencer Cox, you better bet your ass, the 50-year-old governor of Utah, Mormon, does not know about this either, nor should he. But maybe before you talk about this being leftist culture, do some research, or at least produce some evidence that it is leftist culture. Because now that is ingrained in people's minds. I cannot tell you the number of friends I have. Actually, I don't have that many friends who are Republican, but I have a friend who's a Republican who tweets me right away, or tells me right away,
they can't wait.
They can't wait. You see, this guy's a leftist. Based on what? Based on, well, Spencer Cox said so. Based on what?
Yeah. Sources say, what sources?
What sources? Kash Patel, and then Axios, shame on them. Axios publishes, yes, transgender roommate based on 6 sources.
Sources say.
Kash Patel, source number 1, Dan Bongino, source number 2, source 3, 4, 5, and 6, acolytes of theirs, or Spencer Cox, Republican, who's getting it from the FBI.
That's why it's like, I don't feel like we can really buy any of it. I'm like, until I see it myself,
I want to see
something concrete.
I'm not
buying it.
I want to see this quote unquote transgender roommate come out and say, yes, my name is, XYZ, and I am undergoing gender replacement surgery. And Tyler Robinson and I were madly in love and in a relationship together. I don't know about madly in love. We're in a relationship together.
Yeah.
Until I see that, I don't buy any of it. And even if I see that, I want to make sure nobody's telling this guy he better say that, or else he's going to get arrested for being an accessory.
Right.
Because the whole thing from day one, Michelle, I'm sorry, it makes me so angry. Before the body wasn't even cold yet.
Yeah.
And they're talking about how some transgender person did this. What? One school shooting that was transgender last week or 2 weeks ago. The rest of them, overwhelmingly
young white men.
Young white men.
And yet that's not anything. We're not allowed to say that. And then it's, white men are under attack. No, you're not. We're under attack from you.
Yeah.
And like a lot of us are afraid of you because of this, because there is a track record of violence, extremism. I sometimes I feel like I'm taking crazy pills, because it's like black is white is black. And they know, they're weaponizing the fact that they know that there's an earnestness from the left that we don't do that. We play by the rules, and they know that. They know that if they come out and say that, and they come out swinging, that they can seize the moment, seize the power, knowing that our side is not going to do that. And then we're going to feel like, oh no, we can't say anything because somebody was just killed and this is terrible. And that's exactly what's happening. This is what they do.
It is disgusting. And listen, it may be that their narrative is right. I'm not saying that it's not. But everything that has been written so far about Tyler Robinson in the media, whether it is that he had ammunition that was transgender ammunition, whether he is a leftist, quote unquote, because he was Antifa, because he had anti-fascist lingo on his bullets, which, by the way, I love the fact that being anti-fascist now is a bad thing in this country.
Oh, I know.
I love, also not true. Also not true.
Can I just say really quick, when I was at LP for D-Day, I think it was like the second year I was there, we made a D-Day ad and we called it Antifa about how all the people who stormed the beaches on June 6th, different month, were all anti-fascists, and they were Antifa. And when I tell you, the right lost their minds.
Because I had the same thing. So I don't know if it was when you guys did it or whether it was the year before or year after, but
Yeah, I
I
think it was
was,
like 2021 that we did it.
yeah, so maybe it was after. So I was in, so no, not true. In 2019, my husband and I went to the beaches at Normandy.
Mhm.
And we went to Pont du Hoc, which is where they scaled. I don't know if people know about
Yeah.
D-Day, but where they scaled these cliffs. I mean, the fact that any of them survived is unbelievable, but scale these cliffs to create a basically a beachhead, a landing atop, so the Germans could just shoot at them as they were coming over in the water. Because if you've ever been to those beaches, Omaha Beach and other beaches, you know that the cliffs are right there.
Yeah.
And so you're basically sitting ducks for anybody who's on top of the cliffs, which the Germans.
And they had those like little huts with the little things. So
Yeah,
they
they
were
had
very
little huts.
protected.
Yeah. So Pont du Hoc, which is where this they scaled, has this humongous, very phallic looking.
Yeah, right. When I was there, I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, very phallic.
And then
looking.
like there's like a book at the bottom of it, and I was
It's
like, what is
totally
this?
phallic looking. I think that was on purpose to be like,
Yeah.
it's got a big dick here.
Yeah.
But this humongous monument, that's a monument to the men who scaled.
Yeah. I think it was like the Rangers, right?
Yeah. And it is a huge anti-fascism monument. So I tweeted out on June 6th, maybe that year, the following year, this is a big monument to anti-fascism. I guess it's the earliest Antifa monument that we have. Same thing. People on Twitter, all the crazies.
Oh, they lose it. They lose it.
Well, what do you think this is? What do you think we were fighting over there, my friends?
Yep.
And, you know, we can talk about this for the next 5 years and we have to wrap it up. All I'm going to say about that is it is just absurd. It is just absurd because it's just so gross. I don't know how else to say it. Like, the whole thing is gross. The exploitation of Charlie Kirk's death by the right is gross. The left,
it's
gross for the left is gross for basically going into the fetal position and not saying anything.
Well, and to the people in the chat talking about, you know, Normandy and being their bucket list, I will say this. I went to the same place as you did, Julie, in 2023, in October of 2023. It was something that I always wanted to do. It's very important to me. And I stood on the beaches. And then I walked through the cemetery, and I urge any American who can afford a plane ticket to fly to Paris, get on the train, go to Normandy, and spend 1-2 days. I would like to go back and spend more time. I didn't feel like I had enough time. But this was, you know, coming up on the presidential election. I remember I looked at my husband and I said, this all cannot have been for nothing. Because when you stand there and you see the scale of knowing what happened, and you're looking at the just geographically what kind of area they had to take over. And then, you know, because I went on a tour, and the first part of the tour was the vantage point of the Germans. So you saw what the Germans saw first, and then you see what the Americans did, and the Canadians and the Brits. And it'll take your breath away. It is a cemetery with over 9,000 soldiers, with the median age of 25. These were young boys and men who flew across oceans to fight this shit. And here we are. And now we're fighting it amongst ourselves.
And I'm going to say one more thing about Normandy that I think is maybe relevant to this discussion. So I have been there maybe 4 or 5 times, not because for any, I think Michelle knows this. A lot of people might know this too. I have a lot of family and friends, so I spent a lot of time there. So, you know, I took my son once, I took my husband once on separate trips. You know, I went once as a little kid. Like, you just go, and every time I go, it's just amazing. But I will tell you what I find so interesting. If you go there in the summer and you go to Omaha Beach, you will see a beach like a normal beach. You will see French people on
it's
that
right. Crazy.
You see French people on that beach.
Mm-hmm.
Same way that, any of us go to Long Island to the beach. If you live in New York or the Jersey Shore or anywhere else,
Yep.
you just go. And they have their towels out and their picnic baskets, and
Life goes on.
they are just picnicking on what those of us who go there from a tourism perspective look at, and you're like, oh my God, this is like a holy place. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, there's blood in the sand.
Yeah.
But of course, if you live there, it's just a beach. It's just another wonderful beach that you go to, and you're on the English Channel, or La Manche, as they would call it, because God forbid they call it the English Channel.
I know.
It's just a place, and you think about how short people's memories are, and you think about how it's, the people who fought there are now mostly dead. Even the people who
with a
survived.
handful of them left.
And now we're coming up on the 4th generation, and it's not that big a deal to people. And
it's it
is because they're side one.
Mm-hmm.
It is because they're side one that they're able to do that and treat it like any other place.
Mm-hmm. And in some ways, it's almost not what I would do, but I can see also why you're honoring the sacrifice by enjoying the place that you live in, whatever that may be.
Really?
I mean,
You
it's
live
like
there in freedom, right?
Yeah, it's like someone leaving you a nice piece. It's like your grandmother leaving you a nice piece of jewelry, and you don't ever wear it because you don't want anything to happen to it. But these things should be worn. They should be enjoyed. They should be experienced, and maybe that's part of it too.
Yeah, and I think what is relevant to us here as Americans is I want my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren to not go to the west front of the Capitol and think about what I think about every time I happen to be in Washington, which is quite a bit.
Yeah.
Since January 6th.
It's rough. It's rough.
The only way we do that, the only way we get to that is if we win this.
Yeah.
That's why the French are able to go to Normandy and just have a nice beach day at a place that the rest of us look at as tourists and are like, whoa,
Yeah, as sacred ground, right?
Yeah, why farmers continue to farm in Normandy in places where after the Allies got there, so much
all those
death,
apple orchards, right? I mean, that's
so much
in Normandy.
Yeah, so much destruction in those apple orchards.
They're still finding people. If any people don't know this, they're still finding the bodies of soldiers. I think the most recent one was a few years ago.
And ammunition.
Yep.
The earth is littered with wars. And I feel like we are in a war right now. And I feel like it's a war. I'm not saying it's a violent war. I'm not calling for a violent war. God knows that's the other side doing it. But it's a war of ideas. And you guys, we're the ones we've been waiting for, to quote Barack Obama, because nobody's coming to save us. Nobody.
No, literally no one. Not even the people we elect.
Not our elected officials who don't know what the hell they're doing. Not Hollywood, which is going totally apolitical. Not the mainstream media, which has fired people for speaking the truth while protecting those who are rancid fascists. Not sports, which is honoring a racist, bigot, anti-Semite, misogynist. It's up to us.
Yep. And to that, there's a clip that I wanted to play that kind of brings all of that together. And while it may be hokey, and honestly so retro at this point, it's almost quaint. A speech in one of my favorite movies, written by Aaron Sorkin, that's a little bit about, well, it's a lot about free speech and why, why we kind of do what we do. And if you don't mind, Julie, I'll play it. And then after that, we can say goodbye and peace out.
A month, Senator Rumson has suggested that being president of this country was to a certain extent about character. And although I've not been willing to engage in his attacks on me, I've been here 3 years and 3 days. And I can tell you without hesitation, being president of this country is entirely about character. For the record, yes, I am a card-carrying member of the ACLU, but the more important question is, why aren't you, Bob? Now, this is an organization whose sole purpose is to defend the Bill of Rights, so it naturally begs the question, why would a senator, his party's most powerful spokesman and a candidate for president, choose to reject upholding the Constitution? Now, if you can answer that question, folks, then you're smarter than I am, because I didn't understand it until a few hours ago. America isn't easy. America is advanced citizenship. You've got to want it bad, because it's going to put up a fight. It's going to say, you want free speech? Let's see you acknowledge a man whose words make your blood boil, who's standing center stage and advocating at the top of his lungs that which you would spend a lifetime opposing at the top of yours. You want to claim this land as a land of the free? Then the symbol of your country cannot just be a flag. The symbol also has to be one of its citizens exercising his right to burn that flag in protest. Now show me that. Defend that. Celebrate that in your classrooms. Then you can stand up and sing about the land of the free. I've known Bob Rumson for years, and I've been operating under the assumption that the reason Bob devotes so much time and energy to shouting at the rain was that he simply didn't get it. Well, I was wrong. Bob's problem isn't that he doesn't get it. Bob's problem is that he can't sell it. We have serious problems to solve, and we need serious people to solve them. And whatever your particular problem is, I promise you, Bob Rumson is not the least bit interested in solving it. He is interested in two things, and two things only: making you afraid of it and telling you who's to blame for it. That, ladies and gentlemen, is how you win elections. You gather a group of middle-aged, middle-class, middle-income voters who remember with longing an easier time, and you talk to them about family and American values and character. And you wave an old photo of the president's girlfriend, and you scream about patriotism. You tell them she's to blame for their lot in life. And you go on television, and you call her a whore. Sidney Ellen Wade has done nothing to you, Bob. She has done nothing but put herself through school, represent the interest of public school teachers, and lobby for the safety of our natural resources. You want a character to debate, Bob? You better stick with me, because Sidney Ellen Wade is way out of your league. I've loved two women in my life. I lost one to cancer, and I lost the other because I was so busy keeping my job, I forgot to do my job. Well, that ends right now. Tomorrow morning, the White House is sending a bill to Congress for its consideration. It's White House Resolution 455, an energy bill requiring a 20% reduction of the emission of fossil fuels over the next 10 years. It is by far the most aggressive stride ever taken in the fight to reverse the effects of global warming. The other piece of legislation is the crime bill. As of today, it no longer exists. I'm throwing it out. I'm throwing it out and writing a law that makes sense. You cannot address crime prevention without getting rid of assault weapons and handguns. I consider them a threat to national security, and I will go door to door if I have to, but I'm going to convince Americans that I'm right, and I'm going to get the guns. We've got serious problems, and we need serious people. And if you want to talk about character, Bob, you better come at me with more than a burning flag and a membership card. If you want to talk about character and American values, fine. Just tell me where and when, and I'll show up. This is a time for serious people, Bob, and your 15 minutes are up. My name is Andrew Shepard, and I am the president.
So like I said, it's very retro, that it's almost quaint, but I think that there's fundamentally a lot of evergreen meaning to that about serious people and serious problems and free speech and even though someone you vehemently disagree with, you'll fight for their right to hold freedoms as much as we do for ourselves. And that
Clinton
movie
years
is
were
30 years old. That movie is 30 years old. Can you believe it? 30 years.
No, the Clinton administration, when that was done, was 30 years old. And so was the West Wing, which I think began towards the end of the Clinton administration.
I have my Bartlett for America shirt on today.
And those were it's nice that Andrew Sorkin was so idealistic as to always appeal to our better angels.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know where, well, I can guess where we went wrong, but now we have this.
Yeah.
Now we have this. And I think that's something for another day to talk about. But in the meantime, you guys, like and subscribe to the May Day.
Yeah, please do. Please do. It
helps
helps us
here.
immensely. Yes.
We are going to launch officially, hopefully in the next month or so. We will let you know as soon as we do. We're going to have a lot of special people joining us here. It's not going to be just Michelle, Tara, and I. And lots of great shows, lots of fun content. And we're going to continue the Daily Dispatch because Michelle and I both believe in it very strongly. And we are so grateful to you for just having this incredible community that we're building with all of you. So thank you to all of you. We will see you back here maybe tomorrow for another Daily Dispatch, definitely on Wednesday at noon over it. And for those of you who are interested in my active measures series with Ogle Outman, you can catch us on Substack tomorrow at 12:30. We are going to potentially try to bring that over here too once we launch to May Day. Michelle, I think, we'll see everybody else. I know you've got your show on Thursday, but that's a separate
it's over at Seneca Project, a different channel. But just so everybody knows too, we have made Over It a podcast. So you can go on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Over It will be there. It is there. And we're hoping to move everything over there. So there's like an audio version of everything. So you can listen to it on your commute or whatever else. But yeah, that's it. Otherwise, we'll see you Wednesday at noon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.